Welcome, everyone. This is our info session for our first annual yoga teacher summer school, which is scheduled for this summer. We are in summer 2025 now. We're moving into summer. It feels like summer today. And I just wanted to share a little bit about the program, give folks an opportunity to ask some questions, and go from there. So, as you might know, we've been running our 200-hour program for the last 8 years, and this will be the ninth iteration of the program. So this will be the ninth graduating class that we've had ever since we started back in 2018. We even did a program the year of the pandemic, although we had to shift halfway through in March to Zoom. And then the next year in 2021, we did it hybrid. So we had people on Zoom, we had people in person. It was totally crazy. We switched back to all in person in 2022 because that seems to be the best format for everyone. And so this iteration of it would be 200 hours in two 100-hour sections. The first is 2 weeks, June 14th to 28th, 14 days. Of those 14 days, you have one day off. And the rest of the days are, I feel, a pretty manageable schedule. They're either 7 or 6 hours a day. You might notice that a lot of YTTs have like these really long stretches, 12 or 13 hours in the studio. Ours is a little bit more manageable chunks. So first one is June 14th to 28th. And then there would be a break of about 3.5 weeks for most of the month of July. Come back on July 19th and go through August 2nd. Another 2 weeks, 14 days, starting on Saturday and ending on a Saturday with one day off. Again, 6 to 7 hours per day. In addition to that, you would be attending classes during the break and hopefully attending some classes during the actual training. We'll talk more about that and how that can kind of figure in. So there's also makeups that can be scheduled. We allow you to miss one full weekend or 2 full days of the training per session without requiring a makeup. So for example, people have been contacting me and saying, oh, I have to miss the first weekend. I have a wedding. Anything that's fine, but anything beyond that, we would have you make up at the rate of $100 per private lesson, which would equate to 3 hours of curriculum time. So if I'm doing a section on the chakras, it's a 3-hour lecture discussion, we would expect you to make that up with a 1-hour private lesson with that teacher. So again, because it's so abbreviated, we're hoping folks won't miss too much of the training, but we do understand that things come up in travel plans, especially because it's the summer and then illness and things like that. But if you're looking at it and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to have to miss this and this, then it might not be the right time because it is kind of an intensive program and we don't want you to get too far behind. You'll also have an unlimited membership for the time that you participate in the training. If you sign up for session 1, the unlimited membership will be for the whole month of June. If you sign up for session 2, it will be the dates, I think it's July 15th to August 15th. And if you sign up for both sessions, you'll get an entire summer membership, 3 months, June, July, and August included in the cost of the training. So you don't have to worry about like paying for classes outside of the training or doing drop-ins or anything like that. If you're already a member, we would pause your membership and then it would pick up again after the training. So, if you're billed on the first of the month, it would just pause for those 3 months and then it would reactivate afterwards. Yeah, and so we have our instructors that are leading our current 5-month program. They'll be the same instructors that lead this training. So we have me for your sequencing and your teaching methodology. I also help you sequence your final exam, which is going to be a 20-minute class that you actually teach to the group with alignment cues, breath cues, all of the good stuff that we're going to teach you. We have Whitney Walsh doing our alignment and anatomy. She's been doing that A&A section for all of our training so far. And she was one of my original Left Coast teachers that started back in 2013. So she's been with us 12 years. We have Zach Beach for Sanskrit. We have Adam Kurzfeld for pranayama, bandhas, and Ayurveda. Malka Liu for Bhakti Yoga. Taco Oda for history and philosophy of yoga. Liz Keating for rocket yoga. Nina Portugal for restorative and prenatal yoga, and then Shirley Johnson for Kundalini and the sacred body. So these are all teachers that either formerly were Left Coast staff, some of them have moved away, or they're currently teaching on our schedule. Yeah, and so we have some testimonials online that you can read on your own time. We tend to have people tend to be really happy with our training, not like saying I'm tooting my own horn, but it really prepares you to teach if that's something that you're interested in. It's very practical. There's a lot of trainings you can kind of like do them online or just read coursework. They'll graduate you and they'll give you a degree, but you're not actually prepared to teach in a studio or in your workplace or in a hospital or in a juvie hall. We prepare you for all of that. So you really come out empowered to start teaching if that's what you wish. Having said that, some folks don't want to teach. They just want to use this to deepen your practice. And that's a really great opportunity to do that as well. And people ask me like how many people go on to teach after and how many just do it for themselves. And I'd say it's around 50-50. About half the people want to go on and teach either at their workplace or maybe in a studio or maybe the gym or maybe the YMCA. And then about 50% of people are like, I really don't want to teach, but I'm really interested in diving deeper into the yoga philosophy, the Yoga Sutras, the subtle body work and all of that. So both of those are completely fine. Yeah, so that's my little elevator pitch about this program. Like I said, it's the first time we're doing it in this condensed format. I took my training in that way. I was a administrator at a school at the time, so I had my summers off. So it was a really good time for me to dive deep. I did a 1 month intensive, which was a bit much. That's why we've broken it up into two-week intensives with about a month in between to digest the information. And the way we're doing it is anyone can sign up for section 1, but section 1 is a prerequisite for section 2. So it wouldn't be appropriate to sign up for section 2 without doing section 1. Having said that, everybody who is participating so far has signed up for both section 1 and section 2. So they're planning to do the full 200 hours. There's about 100 hours in each of the sections. Yeah, so that is my spiel. I'm sure I forgot something, but if you have questions, we can start going through those and then we can circle back and see if there's anything I forgot. So feel free to unmute yourself, or if you want to put anything in the chat, we can discuss that.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I
Mhm.
don't want to hog all the time. First one is I'm not clear on what the expectation is around the additional classes.
Okay,
Is,
good.
is
Yeah, I
that
did want to circle back to that. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
thank you.
So we want you to be in the training, but we also want you to be in the studio, seeing the community, breathing the practice, smelling the people, like actually being in the teaching that's going on, right? And so the request is, let me see, 10 classes over the course of the month, because you get that 1 month membership above and beyond your training time. So because we're going to be doing our training from, for example, 10 to 4, Monday to Friday, you could come take a class from 8:45 to 9:45, or you could stay after class and do the class from 4:15 to 5:15, or you could leave, come back and do, for example, a 6:30 class. So it would be classes that would fit into our regular, Left Coast schedule outside and above the hours. And we're only requiring 10 for the month. That breaks down to about 2.5 per week, because we understand this is an intensive schedule. We're not asking you to like take a class every day or anything like that, but we do expect you to kind of come about 2 times a week. Plus, we feel like you'll want to, because you're going to be wanting to do some observations in the actual classes. And the YTT is a little bit of an artificial environment. Everyone's really there to learn the yoga practice. It's a small group, and we want you to see what it's like out there in the real world, teaching the public, helping people who have injuries, like creating modifications for folks, and all that kind of flow. So that would be the expectation: 10 classes for each section, or 20 classes total if you're going to do the entire 3 month summer membership.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
My next question would be is homework. I'm assuming there's going to be homework, or how does that look?
There's a little bit of homework. I always say like the homework is pretty fun stuff, like go home and create an altar, or don't worry too much about the homework in YTT. It might just be, submitting the notes of something that we talked about during the day, but don't worry too much about, because we know you're there so intensively. Of course, I don't want to say there's no homework, because we have 9 amazing instructors, that really are the best in their field, and they may wish you to do some homework from time to time. And there are readings, because we have a book list that we'll have you purchase, but it's not the kind of thing where you go home and write like a term paper on something, right? So the homework is pretty minimal.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Those were the two questions.
Yeah,
Okay,
That's
sure. And then go ahead. Oh, I think you're cutting. I said you said you were driving. It might be cutting out a little bit. You can also email me later if more things come up. Yeah. And Marcella, did you
okay.
have questions? Yeah, no worries.
Um, I guess I'm wondering, I don't know enough about the regular yoga teacher training. I know that this is
Uh-huh.
just supposed to be about the
Sure.
summer session,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
maybe
Let me share that a little bit.
compare contrast.
Totally compare and contrast. So the regular format that we've been doing, I'm putting it in quotes because like what's regular, right? So many spaces do it in so many different ways. What's worked for us, and we've tried it a couple ways over the years, is every other weekend intensively. So same kind of schedule, 12 to 7 p.m. Saturday and Sunday from January through May. So we start second or third week of the year, and we have you every other weekend pretty intensively, right? It's a lot. So it's like 12 to 7, or we've done it 11 to 6. Nothing on Friday, but Saturday and Sunday. And then on top of that, we meet once per week just to keep everyone in the flow of the training. And I lead that. It's currently Thursdays from 6:45 to 7:45 at our grand studio. And that's where we do our sequencing. We talk about, kind of the stuff that we did over the weekend, because that's when all of the other instructors filter in and out with their specialized curriculum. And then we also sequence our final exam, which is that 20-minute class that you're going to teach. So people really want a lot of time to prepare for that, rightfully so, right? So instead of saying like, okay, you have to teach a 20-minute class, we actually start learning and teaching that from the very first day. So for an example, on the very first day, we're going to start learning how to teach sun salutations. Why? Because it's one of the most challenging things to teach, because you have to give a breath cue, you have to give a movement cue, and you have to stay with the beat of people's breath. And so you're in constant flow, you're in constant movement, right? And so my opinion is once you can teach sun salutations and feel comfortable holding the room and holding the energy of the space, you can pretty much teach anything. Then we start to layer in teaching a pose with alignment cues. Then we start to layer in, therapeutics of people who have injuries or modifications. Then we start to layer in teaching to a peak pose. So if you notice in our classes, there's not, hopefully, right? There's not just random poses thrown at you. You might work through your warm up, then your sun salutation to really get the body and breath moving. It's a moving meditation, as we know, right? Then you might start to move towards your peak. So if your peak is, for example, half moon pose, you might start to stretch the hips. You might start to open the shoulders. You might start to do some gentle back bends. You'll incorporate all of that into the flow until you hit the peak of the class, which is, for example, half moon pose. The teacher may do a demo and they show you what that pose is going to be. You come into the peak pose and then you start to do the opposite. So since you did all of your back bending and your core work and your spinal extension preparing, you're going to do the opposite on the way down. We call that the integration. So then you're going to do your forward bend. Then you're going to do your happy baby, your child's pose, all the things that'll take you out of that shape and work the parts of the body that have not been able to be worked yet. And then you'll have your cool down, you'll have your shavasana. So that's kind of the flow of our style, right? Peak pose sequencing. And every pose should make sense in the sequence. We wouldn't go from, a back bend and then all of a sudden the teacher throws you up into a handstand, because it just doesn't work with your sequencing, etc. So that's kind of where the way we teach you in those Thursday nights. So, but anyway, to get back to your question, yeah, it's every other weekend intensive, and then it's once a week on Thursday for 1 hour. That's the usual flow.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any comments or thoughts since I have you guys live on the call?
I'd like to ask about the final exam. I wasn't aware there would be one, so now I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
uh,
yep.
how does that structure work, and what is the expectation around that?
Yeah. So it's a 20-minute class that you'll, like I said, be working on the whole time, with notes and with feedback from the instructor. Because like I said, we really want you to feel confident when you walk out of that room, and not like you've just read a bunch of books on yoga, right? You're going to be in front of the classroom from day one. You're going to be getting comfortable. I used to be a theater instructor and an actor, so we're going to learn how to open up our voice. We're going to learn how to breathe down into our diaphragm. We're going to learn how to project our voice and hold the audience's attention, right? So So the 20-minute class is you demonstrating all of your skills that you've learned. And we have two sections. So half of the class comes to one group and they participate in the class. So for example, let's say there's 10 people. Section A would be 5 people. Each one of them will do a 20-minute class, and the other ones will be the class. So you're never teaching to like one person or no people. Like you'll have your class, right? Because we want you to walk around, interact with folks, feel their energy, and it would never be just like you standing up on a stage like performing, right? We want you to interact with the class. So that would be group 1. So let's say it's 5 people. And then group 2 would be the other 5 people. They would come in the next day or the next chunk of time and they would participate. And the reason we do that is because if we had 10 people, or even like in the training this year, we have 16. If we have 16 short classes in one day, right, everyone will die. So we break it up.
Mhm.
And then immediately after your class, after you teach your 20 minutes, you get your immediate feedback from myself and from Whitney, who's our alignment and anatomy instructor. We're taking notes. We're not doing the class. We're taking notes. And then we share the feedback with you immediately that day. And we'll also email it to you so you'll have that feedback to reference back to. And what we hope to happen, which often does happen, is that becomes the spine or the skeleton of your first yoga class that you will go on to teach. So for example, at Lefko, and different studios do it different ways, we have a bridge between the teacher training program and actual paid work, which is called the community classes. So you could sign up after you graduate to offer community classes. They're a really discounted rate for the community. You get a chance to practice and you get the opportunity to teach an actual 60-minute class. So even though your final exam was only 20 minutes, you're going to grow that to a 60-minute offering. You're going to add some music. You're going to add meditation. You're going to add your intention. You're going to bring your own teaching style into it. And that may become the baby class that you start to teach. And we honestly say, you guys might think this is really funny, we say just teach one class and just teach it over and over. If it's a
Mm.
half moon, teach that class 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Then it's in your brain, right? It's in your toolbox. Start to create your second class. Maybe that's one is going to be wheel pose. You enjoy wheel pose. So then you would have your spine of your wheel class. And then you just get more and more sequences in your toolkit, in your toolbox. And next thing you know, you've sequenced a chunk of your half moon class into the vinyasa from wheel. And the next thing you know, you're doing, something else. And you're a teacher that's kind of got all these little chunks of a sequence in your brain. So you don't have to necessarily like write it down anymore every time or keep your notes every time. It starts to become more second nature. But I think it's really important because we didn't used to have this bridge. And so our first year, we didn't have it. So it was like, okay, how do I jump from a paid, how do I jump from teacher training to like paid work as a yoga instructor when I haven't had a chance to like go out there and maybe fail a couple times. In the community classes, people understand these are new teachers. They're like cheering you on. And yeah, you're gonna forget, you're gonna fail, you're gonna forget how to use the music and like all that. And so we love providing that platform for people to just make all those mistakes. Not that you're not going to make mistakes later, of course, but have more confidence. And then we also have mentorships with our existing teacher where you go to their class and study what they're doing and assist and support them if there's someone's style that you really like after the training, right? So you would assist them, go to their class, and then you could always chat with them after about things like that. You get to form a relationship with one of our like more seasoned instructors. Yeah, so thanks for asking that. That's a really good point. And if you're going to ask how long that takes, because people always ask, it depends. So we send out the community class sign up after the graduation. And honestly, as long as people sign up for the community classes, we will run them. We'll offer them on the schedule. Usually, like maybe around 6 months afterwards, people stop signing up for them because either they've decided, well, maybe this isn't for me, or they've auditioned and they've come on as a staff member. So it's not that we run them all year. We run them specifically at the end of the YTT so that people
Mm.
can have that opportunity to teach. Since this one's finishing in the summer, I would expect we would probably run this batch of community classes maybe through the end of the year and then audition people to start in the new year. That's usually around how long it takes. If someone, and of course, they're also coming to class and continuing to show up and be a part of the community, right? So they're not just dropping off. Then it takes like, I'd say like anywhere from 3 to 6 months to build that confidence. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Some people do it a lot faster, right? If you're already a classroom teacher, we have a lot of folks signing up for the summer because, of course, they're educators. So they're used to like being in front of a room holding that class energy. They might, go through it a little bit more fast, or people who aren't used to the public speaking aspect or they're brand new to yoga, that might take them a little bit longer. So it's really individual.
okay.
Yeah.
Do you get any, so we don't get any feedback at all from our fellow students during that process, just from the instructors?
Correct. Yeah, during the final exam. No, we don't have peer feedback. We do during the process where everyone's sequencing, we give a lot of peer feedback, but it wouldn't be inappropriate, I don't think, to have people like chiming in because everyone's nervous. I mean, you understand, chiming in on each other. It's really just the two instructors giving that feedback.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
These are good questions. Keep them coming.
If the summer teaching session doesn't work, I'm a nurse practitioner. I don't really have summers off.
Gotcha.
When is the next time that you'd be doing
Yeah.
the sort of
We always do it. We always do
quote
it.
unquote normal?
Yeah, we always do it that January through
It's
May.
always January to May.
Yeah. For
Okay.
us, that works because people are like pretty much raring to go with the new year. There's a lot of like New Year's intentions. It's also honestly hard to get things started in the summer because people travel. So for us, it's just worked really well to do January through May. And then we have folks graduate around the time that like a regular college graduation. Like this year, I think it's May 15th. So then they
Okay.
can do their summer travel and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. So we're supposed to build our own kind of mentor relationship with someone, or we won't be assigned someone during the process, just kind
We
of on
can
your own.
Yeah, we can help you find someone. It's honestly pretty informal. Some folks really gravitate towards that, some don't. So throughout the course of the training, you're going to be meeting these more senior teachers, right? Because they're going to be the ones leading your sections. And so, for example, you feel really drawn to the yoga history and philosophy with Taco, that might turn into a mentorship. Or you really, I'm just thinking, Shirley with the Kundalini, that's something you're drawn to that might lead into a mentorship. Everyone has a really different style, so it would basically be based on that. Yeah, we don't, it's not quite formal enough to like, connect you, but it always just pretty much seems to work out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Amazing.
So, can I ask the money questions now?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me pull.
Um, so I'm assuming you have to be paid in full before you start the training.
We
Is that
actually have a payment plan, right? So the payment plan does finish before the first dates of the training, but at this point, it's pretty spread out. So right now I know people are watching this recording, but right now we're in April, so it would be spread out for those 2 months through the June 15th. And then again, it would be spread out until the July 19th to a July 19th date. We're also offering a cash discount if you can do upfront. So it would be 30, let me see. It would be 3,000 for the full training versus 3,200 if you can pay in cash. And that would just need to be done by June 1st, because that's when we're hoping to have the whole, everything sorted out for the training by June 1st, because it's going to start on June 14th.
okay?
Yeah, and so you get a little discount if you pay in full, then you get a further discount if you can pay in cash. If you want to use the payment plan, it's $100 more. It's not really much. And then that allows you to spread out the payments until the first day of the training.
Okay. And do you have any approximate cost on? You said there was some additional books or something that we needed to get. Do
Yes,
you have?
exactly. We really try to keep them affordable, and a lot of these books are available used, right? So I would say you're not going to spend more than, well, also we try to keep most of them optional because we feel like we want you to build your yoga library, but it doesn't mean you need to like build it all at once. So we have lots of optional books, but the required books is a deck of sequencing cards, which is probably $20. And then a book that's probably a big anatomy book that you'll reference a lot, that's probably $40. And then you want to have a copy of the Yoga Sutras, which you can get anywhere used for, $5, $10. And then think those are the three minimum. So call it like $75, $80 for those required ones. And then of course we have all these ones that we like are like, when you can, we recommend adding these. But we actually provide most of the training materials. So you'll get two manuals for us included from us, one of which is our YTT manual, and every teacher that you are with has a section in there that we've built and curated over the years. It grows every year, honestly. And then our alignment and anatomy instructor has actually created and published her own alignment and anatomy manual. And so that's where the majority of your training is going to come from. And then we do ask that you buy a journal. So, it's going to be like less than $100 of output in terms of cost for the materials.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I just verified 10 to 4 most days, if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
So I'm glad you asked that too, because I didn't quite go into that. So the weekends are 12 to 7. That's 2 3-hour sections with a 1-hour lunch break. The Monday through Friday is 10 to 4, which is 6 hours with a lunch break. It may be a little bit shorter. I have to look at the timing. That might be like a 45-minute lunch break because it's a little bit of a shorter day. So the longest day would be your Saturdays, which are 7 hours, and then the rest of the days are 6 hours, 10 to 4. And it's easy to remember because we have our classes that, that's the big break that we have in the studio between classes. And so we have it there. And also, this is going to be at our Laurel studio, which is air conditioned. So it's so nice in the summer, especially if you're doing a lot of movement. This training is not heated. I've had people ask me, like, oh, is it, 200 hours of hot yoga? No, a lot of it is movement, discussion, lecture. There is yoga, of course, but we want you to be comfortable. So it's in our air conditioned studio for the summer, for sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm
Yep.
I'm tapped out on my questions.
Yeah, no, those were great. And thank you, because for the folks watching the recording, this will be, I think, super helpful for them as well. Great. Marcella, did you have anything else?
No, those were great questions, Damon, and I really appreciate you, Rachel, taking the time and having
Of
this session.
course. I'm so excited about this. Yeah, so reach out to me over email and let me know if you have additional questions, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much for joining.
All right. Thank you.
Have a
Thank you.
beautiful evening. Thanks so much, guys.
You too.